How's it going, guys? In this video I'm going to be going over the inspection I have carried out on my Civic Type R. I'm going to first bring you on the underside and just show you the few items that I have picked up and a couple of small things that I'll be doing and tips for you if you buy a vehicle similar to this with an underbody like mine. So let's get into it.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubt, 'cause you keep me where the stars are bright. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, so it doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here.
There's negative camber on this one for sure. You can see by the wear on the inside of both tires. So maybe there might be an idea to get an adjustment arm for the camber up there. That could be interesting. Might be a nice little modification. Set up the camber how I want it. We'll see how we go with that. The rest of the underside. So just up there you can see the rocker cover gasket is leaking down. That's running on. It's not a bad leak, but it is going to cause some issues. I'll show you on this side as well, where there is a buildup of oil that's run down from, looks like the top, and go into this side as well. You can see it there more. What I suggest, if you ever have an oil leak, especially if you have an oil leak coming from the top, to be certain that you don't have any other issues, I would recommend doing a degrease, cleaning it all off, power washing it down, and then running the vehicle for a while. Depending on the level of oil leak that you would have, you may only have to run it for a few miles to find exactly where it is, or if it's a slow one, you might have to run it for a couple of days, but that will give you an exact indication as to if it's just on the top or if you have any lower leaks as well. I'm going to do a service on it. That oil filter looks old. The front side has had a bit of work done, which I knew when I looked at it the first time as well. It's kind of hard to get. Let me see if I can find an area for you. There you go. There's a suspect area. So if you ever buy in a vehicle and you see the likes of that, that is body sealer or body shuts. You know that there was something done on the front panel, and instead of shutsing it and repainting over it, they think because it's behind a bumper that no one will ever see it. But in the reality is it's a very easy thing to detect. But it doesn't matter. It's literally, I suspect what happened is the front bumper got pushed in against something. It was in a bit of a tip. There's a new radiator on it, and the actual front panel itself wouldn't be 100% in line, but the chassis rails up there and over here, but both chassis rails are perfect. That's the right hand side, and if you go up here you can see it all the way to the end. So that's the important bits. A front panel isn't a primary structure, and it can be replaced easy, and even the underside of the panel here is okay. It's like the bumper support bar and stuff out the front that would have got damaged that didn't get replaced. Up here you can see there, and it never got secured right, so they didn't put anything back up here. I actually put this in it myself because this was falling against the wheel. These tires are pretty good, and these are Falcons on the front, so I'll be keeping them on it. What you should always do in an inspection as well is just spin each wheel. A little bit of binding there, and you can see the unevenness on the disc. That's on the left hand side. come over here to the right hand side and you'll see no binding, disc fine, and we want to check the pad. So I'm going to whip off all 4 wheels, but it's always a good idea when you're going through an inspection to spin every wheel, make sure that they're free. A little bit of, not bad, but there's a little bit of binding on that one as well. What can help if you're ever doing that is take them off, free up sliders anywhere the pads run on, so the cradle, clean them up to make sure that the pads aren't jamming, and that can considerably help any binding that you would have. So I'm going to drop it down to mid height. I'm going to check the if there's any play in any of the wheel bearings or any of the inner tie rods or track rod ends, and I'll give you an update on the top side then. The spotlights there leave a lot to be desired. They're all flaking on the inside, and these are the support brackets that are all loose on them. They all need to be tightened up, but they're not in great shape at all. They don't look too good, so we may have to do something with that. So with the wheel bearings, inner tie rods, track rods and brake pads and all that now checked, I'm on to the last part of this inspection, which is the noise that was shown in the last video. I'll turn it on in a minute so you can hear it again, but this is a quite simple check that you will be able to do yourself. First thing you want to do with any noise that you have is determine, before you get any instruments, where it originates from. Is it this side, is it that side, and then start to hone in on where the noise is. And the easiest thing you can always do is remove the likes of a drive belt and run it for a brief period and see if the noise goes away. Automatically you then know, if the noise goes away, that you don't have an issue in the timing area and that the noise is coming from one of the components that is running off the drive belt. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take the drive belt off and I'm going to run it briefly and see if the noise goes away. Before I do that, I'm going to give you a listen to the noise. So that's the noise, and this is a very simple thing to do. The biggest concern is that you would have is that you would forget the routing of the belt. But down here is the tensioner. That's a 14mm, and that's all I need to do to back that off is put a long spanner 14 on that, move it away, and then pop this belt off, and I'll be able to run it then after that. So just like that, I have the spanner on, and then it's a case of just doing that and removing the belt. Alright, so I have the drive belt off, and I don't believe I need to start this engine at all. I'll just show you why. Don't know if you can hear that, but that is very rough there. That idler pulley has failed. The top side ones here are all good. All of them are free, no noise. That needs to be replaced. So a very, very easy item to replace. That's good. Happy days. To be certain of any of these things, you need to do these checks. I would always advise following through with these before purchasing any items. Always good practice to do that, and we now have diagnosed that fault to be there. While I have the belt off, I'm just going to go and check all the rest of the items to make sure that they're okay as well. Not that we really need to, but I'm going to start this engine so you can hear the difference in the noise with the belt removed. There you go. So that is pretty much the complete inspection on this vehicle. I'm going to go home now because it is well after close, and I'm going to do up the list of items that I found, and also probably the first items that I'm going to go replacing, and maybe some ideas for what I plan on doing modification wise later on down the road. Okay, so I've completed my list. I'm going to replace 2 tires. The auxiliary drive belt idler pulley needs replacing. I'm going to do that. Going to service it, including plugs as well is going to get done. I'm probably going to get some air filter cleaner for that induction kit too. I'm going to degrease all the oil off it and do the rocker cover gasket. The brakes, I'm going to try and free them out and stop that binding and go from there. I'm going to refix the bumper and the spot lamps, secure them in for now, and then the bodywork and modifications to be confirmed. I am unsure on what I'm going to address on that now, but that is my list for the time being. With the inspection now complete, I have the items that I'm going to press on with and the items I'm going to get done. First of all, modifications and bodywork, I'll decide on them later on. The first things I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off the underside of the vehicle and get that ready for sealer. I'm going to service it and I'm going to rectify that noise. As always, as I have updates, I'll post them. And I'll be putting all of these videos into a Type R project playlist to make it nice and easy to go back if you've missed any. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't seen the first one, go back and check that out on how much I paid. Overall, I think it's amazing value for money and I'm very, very happy with my purchase. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.